transfer. And then we may get this pop-up that comes onto the screen. System offline. This happens very often when people go to public offices where we require the municipal services of some sort. And then we will get the person at the other end of the counter saying, "I'm sorry sir, but the system is offline, please come back later." Or we're trying to make that urgent call, send out that very important email, download some attachment that we require, and then we will find that there is absolutely no bars at the top and no network connection will come up on the screen. I'm sure that everybody who has experienced this will acknowledge the frustration behind this. And indeed it is frustrating. Even though the crowd is small because this is the beginning of the bayan, I already see many brothers nodding in acknowledgement. And the reason we get frustrated is that there are probably very few, if no people at all, that have absolutely all the time in the world to sit around and wait in anticipation for the network to come back, for the system to come back online, because we have the need to be connected. No sooner a person becomes disconnected from what we deem to be necessary and important, then frustration automatically sets in, and it is understandable. I'm utilizing this as an example, as an analogy to illustrate a far greater important point. And that is, based on the fact that we are frustrated when we get disconnected from the creation, how much more frustration there will be in our lives when we get disconnected from our Creator. How often we will find people saying, and I'm not sure how often you as individuals come into contact with people that will come up to you and say, "I've had it, I cannot live like this anymore, I'm better off dead." People consider and contemplate suicide and a variety of other issues. But I definitely do come into contact with people like that very often. And the percentage of people who want to do this and who are frustrated with life and who cannot just make ends meet or work their way around whatever it is on the increase. Now the question that I ask you is that, is it not obvious, based on the fact that when a person becomes disconnected from his Creator, how is it possible that that person can ever experience any happiness, any peace of heart, any tranquility and any satisfaction in anything? Allah Azza wa Jal spells out to us in the Quran very emphatically, Allah. These words, for those who understand, know Arabic and especially the tafsir of the Quran, will realize that the word Allah is to point out to somebody that is listening, or perhaps not listening very intently, to say, "Listen up. Listen very carefully and intently to what I have to say. Allah. بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبُ." That only in the remembrance of Allah, in the dhikr of Allah, will any heart gain contentment. The quest for happiness is a global one. Various people from various walks of life, from different geographical areas, based on whatever belief system that they have, are on the quest for happiness. I have yet to meet a person who says that my goal in life is to be unhappy, I'm looking for an avenue of being unhappy. Everybody wants to be happy. Everybody looks for satisfaction. And many of us will go for the quick fix. We want immediate and instant gratification. And not surprising, we live in a world of instancy. Everything has become instant. We want everything at the click of a button, at the touch of the screen. It must happen. We live in a technologically advanced world where everything has become smart. It started off with the smartphones, it progressed to smart watches, and then the list was endless. Smart cars, smart fridges, smart dishwashers. The question that we need to ask ourselves is, how smart has this made you and I? How much smarter have we become in relation or in terms of our grasp, our reality with the reality of the hereafter? Let it not be misconstrued for a moment that I am undermining the value of dunya. Dunya is important. Dunya is necessary. This world in which we live is an absolute necessity. We cannot do without it. Allah mentions this in an ayah of the Quran Kareem for the benefit of those who sometimes, due to a boost of iman, may feel that they want to become estranged from the world. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, زُيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ حُبُّ الشَّهَوَاتِ مِنَ النِّسَاءِ وَالْبَنِينَ وَالْقَنَاطِيرِ الْمُقَنطَرَةِ مِنَ الذَّهَبِ وَالْفِضَّةِ وَالْخَيْلِ الْمُسَوَّمَةِ وَالْأَنْعَامِ وَالْحَرْثِ ذَلِكَ مَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَاللَّهُ عِندَهُ حُسْنُ الْمَآبِ. Nowhere in this ayah does Allah mention that you, O man, have gone out to look for a way to love dunya. Allah rather words it like this, that the love for dunya has been placed within your heart. Zuyyina linnas, that means every single one of us have been born with this predisposition. We have been born with the inborn desire and inclination towards a variety of things of this world, of these perishable commodities, and Allah spells them out. Love, attachment, inclination for what? Hubbu shahawat, the love for us wanting to fulfill our desires, inborn within us. It is like a default app that we come into this world with. Minan nisa, in the form of being attracted to the opposite sex. Wal baneen, the love for our children. Wal qanatir al-munqattara min al-dhahab wal-fidda. Who doesn't want hoards of wealth? Allah says this love is something that is inside of you. It is intrinsic. It is instinctive. And then the list is endless. But Allah concludes this verse by saying, ذَلِكَ مَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. This is in its place, but all of this is for a test. We are not designed to dedicate exclusively our existence to the pursuit and the amassing of these perishable commodities. Because in the next verse Allah says, قُلْ أَأُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِخَيْرٍ مِّنْ ذَلِكُمْ. That is there, it's in its place. However, how should we treat this? Because I guess that is the next question. That if this is then part of our nature, if this is our default setting, then what do we do about it? The answer to that is quite simple. That in the manner that you and I, for example, have to relieve ourselves, there are many that I know, including myself, who because we are so busy in our lives, we will put off answering to the call of nature until the last. We will delay sleeping. We will sleep less. Many times we eat less. Many of us will say, you know, I'm one of those who are manufactured not in China but in German. I have a German bladder. I go once to the toilet and that's it. I don't need to keep running. My wudu can last from Fajr right till Isha. We are happy about that because we are contented and pleased by the fact that we do not waste time answering to the call of nature. Like that should be our time that we spend amassing this world. It should be kept to an absolute necessity. It should never become the objective of our life. To corroborate this idea, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has informed us in a hadith. إِنَّمَا الدُّنْيَا خُلِقَتْ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ خُلِقْتُمْ لِلْآخِرَةِ. That this world indeed has been created for your use, for your pleasure. However, you and I have not been created for this world. وَأَنْتُمْ خُلِقْتُمْ لِلْآخِرَةِ. You and I have been created for a greater purpose and objective. And that is for the hereafter. If we have to sum all of this up, then we realize that the purpose that we have been created with this instinctive love for dunya is that you and I may use every resource of this world to finance our portfolio in the hereafter. Many times people will say that, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I've got a contact in that place. If ever you have a problem with this, that or the other, just speak to me, I've got a contact up there. I know so and so. It works exactly the same with Allah. It's not about what we know, it's who we know. The question is, do we know Allah? How well do we know Allah? What is the condition of our rapport with Allah? How well does Allah know us? Of course Allah knows us. The question is, how well do we know Allah? And many times in this world as well, we will say, because I have money, I may be able to buy myself out of this problem, that problem. Wallahi, the same applies in a selective way with akhirah. Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us, إِنَّ اللَّهَ اشْتَرَى مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ أَنفُسَهُمْ وَأَمْوَالَهُمْ بِأَنَّ لَهُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. Allah is prepared to do a deal with us. We can buy our Jannah. All we have to do is be prepared to sell something. An exchange needs to take place. However, we don't need to do it under the table. We can purchase our akhirah by selling our dunya. You see, a person has a choice, every single one of us. A hadith of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is very categoric in this regard. Man ahabba dunyahu adarra bi akhiratihi. That person who loves this world more than his hereafter, he will most definitely bring harm to his hereafter. وَمَنْ أَضَرَّ آخِرَتَهُ وَمَنْ أَحَبَّ آخِرَتَهُ أَضَرَّ بِدُنْيَاهُ. But that person who has a greater love and attachment and quest for his hereafter, أَضَرَّ بِدُنْيَاهُ, he or she will most definitely harm their dunya. So I guess it's a toss-up. What should we choose? Where should our priorities lie? The Rasul of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has been kind enough to point this out to us. فَآثِرُوا مَا يَبَقَى عَلَى مَا يَفْنَى. Lovingly, the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam advises us, give preference to that which is everlasting over that which is temporary. The choice is up to us. There is no force. We will have to choose between a temporary paradise in this world or sacrifice this temporary one, the pleasures, the luxuries, the satisfaction, the chasing of the next high, and give that up for the hereafter, for the akhirah, because that is eternal. In this world in which we live as well, we are surrounded by technology. We will have indicators on our vehicle that will warn us when our fuel level is low. We will have indicators to inform us of a variety of things. Nowadays there are so many apps. An app that will wake you up if you fall asleep. An app that will warn you when you veer off the road and even go out of your lane. A feature on a vehicle that will warn you when you come too close to the next vehicle. All of these apps are designed to keep us safer, to grant us longevity. We have an app that will predict the traffic, an app that will predict the weather. Do we have such apps for our deen? Where is there an app that will warn us that you have gone astray, my brother or my sister? That you have veered from the straight path? Again, I'm coming back to the point that we started discussing. The frustration when we get disconnected from this world, from the people that we are in contact with, creation. Do we feel that frustration because of us being disconnected from Allah? Or is the sad reality that it has not even occurred to us that we are disconnected from Allah? When last have we checked our status with Allah? On every social media platform, people have made this something that they do all the time, checking everybody else's status, checking to see what the latest updates are, checking to see who has been when, how, where, with who, how much. When last have we checked what our relationship is with Allah? What Allah thinks of us? Again, because of the technological advancements that we enjoy, which, as I mentioned earlier, we are allowed to. Everybody wants to live longer, to live healthier, to live happier, to look as radiant and as youthful as they were many years ago. There are those who will suffice on just some blemish-removing ointments and creams and gels. There are others who will go for a nip and tuck or Botox injections, because we all want to stay more youthful. We want to delay old age. We want to embrace longevity. How much of that are we doing for our akhirah? How much of that are we doing for our deen? How much of that are we doing for our iman? Do we realize that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam is mentioned in a hadith that just as metal rusts when it comes into contact with water, the heart of a person rusts when it comes into contact with dunya. And the heart also needs to be cleansed, lest, like when rust overpowers that metal, if it is not cleaned off, it will completely destroy that metal. You and I are in contact with this world and all its embellishments, all the bells and whistles, all of the time. Yet how much of cleansing have we done? How much of a detox have we gone through? Something just jogged my memory to something else, and that is, more and more people, unfortunately, and this is sad, may Allah save us all, have become addicts. Many of our Muslim brothers and sisters have landed up in the rehab. And many of us, who alhamdulillah Allah has saved, sometimes tend to look down on others, on those. And we will cast aspersions, we will make judgment calls. Yet I ask you, and this is a moment of deliberation, deep introspection. Are every single one of us not addicted to sin? How dare we frown upon that person who is addicted to some intoxicant when you and I are intoxicated with the drive to sin? Do we not all break the commands of Allah? When we look at ourselves in the mirror, do we see the reflection of Sahaba and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam in everything? From our outer appearance, our dressing, our walking, our talking, our interaction, our muasharat, our muamalat, our business dealings, our social gatherings. When we go out to buy clothing, who are we trying to mimic? I'm sure only a very small percentage of us will say, I want to look like Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Sahaba. I want my hair to look like Fatima radiallahu anha for the women. I want my outer appearance to look like that of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam and Sahaba? Or are we focused on everybody else besides them? So the cleansing of the heart is absolutely necessary. Nowadays, we will be able to go to boutiques where they will sell premium grades of cleansers, nourishers, toners, conditioners. The list is endless. Ask the women, they are far more qualified in that department. And we will find a different cleanser and a different nourisher and a different toner for different parts of our body. Once upon a time there was one moisturizer we put over our whole body. Now we'll get a separate one for the eyes, a separate one for the face, a separate one for the hands, a separate one for the feet, for sensitive skin, etc. The list is endless. I ask you, what product is there to cleanse our inside? All of this is for the exterior. Whereas in reality, with anything that we have, whether it is a high-tech device or whether it is a simple vehicle that we may drive, we all want to know about the specs of that product, how well it performs, what its speed is, what its capabilities are, how well it handles on the bends. We want to know all of those things. Nobody only focuses on the superficial exterior. The question that we need to ask ourselves is it not true that with regard to us as human beings, we are so focused on the exterior, on the outside, that we rarely, if not ever, focus on the inside? Some of us were focused on the inside by going to a doctor and having a detox. We are very concerned about our health. But what about deeper than that? Beauty is only skin deep, but sin goes right down to the heart. And what does Allah look at? Subhanallah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has informed us, Inna Allah ta'ala la yanduru ila ajsamikum wa la ila suwarikum walakin yanduru ila qulubikum wa a'malikum. Allah Azza wa Jal never ever looks at our exterior, at our outer appearance, at the packaging, at the wrapping. The explicit words of the hadith are, La yanduru ila ajsamikum. Allah does not look at the beauty of your physical body. Wala ila suwarikum. And as to what a beautiful face, etc., or body that you have. Walakin yanzuru. But Allah will judge us. Ila qulubikum wa a'malikum. Allah looks at our hearts and Allah looks at our deeds. This is what matters. To wrap up this discussion, again, coming full circle to the point that we started, if we are connected only on all of our platforms, social as well as business, professional as well as otherwise, only to the creation, our focus will only be on the outside and the exterior. We will prepare, sometimes not months, but over a year in advance, to book a certain accommodation at a certain resort, at a certain location, at a specific time of year. And the receptionist will say, that, sir, do you realize that there is peak season? You need to make this booking 18 months in advance minimum. And yet we will prioritize that. We will diarize it. We will set reminders on our electronic calendars, on our tasks, to ensure that we do not miss that deadline. Yet when we become disconnected from our creation, from our Creator, from our spirituality, from that which matters most, then yes, we will become frustrated with living. We will be hankering and trying to find satisfaction in the perishable commodities of this world. There is a deception, failing to realize that true satisfaction, peace of heart and contentment can only be found in obedience to Allah, in compliance with the Sharia, in implementing the Sunnah and the Seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Why is this discussion so relevant now? With these words I will conclude. We find ourselves on the 20th of Rajab. The Rasul of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to make the dua from the beginning of Rajab. Allahumma barik lana fi Rajab wa Sha'ban wa ballighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, grant us barakah in the month of Rajab. Grant us barakah in the month of Sha'ban. Make it possible for us to reach, to experience, to enjoy, and to benefit from Ramadan. Have we started preparations for Ramadan? My guess is the women have. Menus, ideas for sahri, iftar, those preparations have begun without doubt. What about once again our spiritual preparations for Ramadan? Lest we find ourselves at the first fast and we realize that even physically we are not prepared to fast. The body cannot cope. And you know what they say about a hungry man? And then we find the fasting too difficult. We find the Taraweeh intolerable. We will find a problem with everything. We just go through the motions like androids without any spirituality. Let us utilize this time to absorb, to digest, to acknowledge, to reflect, and to start our preparations, and to let this be the turning around of a new leaf on our journey to Allah. Utilizing this preparation from now till Ramadan, and then for Ramadan as the highlight, to ensure that that is the stepping stone on our journey towards Allah for the rest of our lives, and take every single one of our family members and our business associates and those in our social circle along with us. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.